The fragility of human life is like a delicate web, finely woven between the moments of birth and death. Each thread represents an experience, a breath, a heartbeat. Sometimes we are enveloped by the illusion that we are invulnerable, that life is enduring and constant. Yet, it takes only a breath of the unpredictable to shatter this fragile web. In today's account, you will learn the story of how a simple toy ball in the wrong place at the wrong time can take a life in an extremely violent way. But before we begin this narrative, if you are a fan of dark and sinister stories set in wild environments, you've come to the right place, because here, that is our main focus. So please, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Your subscription and your like mean the world to us. Consider sharing this content on your social media. This way, you will be alerting more people to the fragile balancing act between humankind and the wild. The biblical saga of Daniel in the lion's den, narrated in the Old Testament, revered by Christians and also present in the Tanakh, the sacred text of Judaism, is an emblematic account of resilience and divine protection. In this timeless passage, Daniel, a servant of King Darius of the First Persian Empire, is cast into an earthen pit teeming with voracious lions. Surprisingly, defying all expectations, Daniel emerges unharmed, without even a scratch, bearing witness to the transcendent power that surrounds him. However, throughout the centuries, not everyone has shared Daniel's divine benevolence. Some, tragically, have found themselves facing challenges as fierce as the lions in the biblical narrative. There are cases in which people do not need to be deliberately thrown into the lion's den. Instead, the beast itself appears relentlessly in its assault. A particularly dark and haunting story is that of Alexandra Black, whose fate led her to a terrible encounter with lions inside a zoo in the United States. In a tragic turn of events, she was dragged into the lion's enclosure, losing her life prematurely and violently. This painful narrative highlights the reality that, unlike Daniel, not everyone escapes unscathed when confronted with life's beasts, whether symbolic or real. Alexandra Black was a 24-year-old young woman who lived in San Francisco, California. She held a degree in biology from the University of California and dedicated herself to the study of animal behavior with passion and scientific rigor. Her interest in wild species went beyond theory. She frequently visited zoos and sanctuaries to closely observe the habits of predators such as lions, tigers, and leopards. On June 15, 2016, Alexandra decided to visit the San Francisco Zoo accompanied by two friends. The weather was mild, typical of the city at that time of year, and the park was filled with visitors enjoying the weekend. Always curious, Alexandra headed toward the African lion's enclosure, one of the main attractions of the facility. The space had been designed with safety in mind, a robust metal fence followed by a deep moat, and finally a concrete wall separating the animals from the public. What happened next shocked witnesses and redefined safety protocols in zoos across the country. As Alexandra approached the designated observation area, something unexpected occurred. A children's toy, a small, colorful ball, had accidentally rolled into the lion's enclosure, likely dropped by a careless child minutes earlier. Upon noticing the ball inside the enclosure, Alexandra, driven by an apparently innocent impulse, perhaps the desire to prevent a child from crying over the lost toy, or simply failing to perceive the imminent danger, leaned over the protective barrier. In a moment of distraction, her balance failed. She slipped and plummeted directly into the moat where the African lions rested under the afternoon sun. The impact was immediate. One of the lions, instinctively reacting to the unexpected presence of a human in its territory, charged forward with astonishing speed. Witnesses reported screams of horror as zoo staff activated the emergency protocol. Rescue teams and veterinarians were mobilized within seconds, but time proved relentless. Despite the desperate efforts of the security team to drive the animals away using containment devices and loud noises, Alexandra did not survive her severe injuries. She died at the scene, amid the shock and helplessness of dozens of visitors who witnessed the event. The incident sparked national outrage and raised urgent questions about safety protocols in zoos. Local authorities, together with experts in animal welfare and public safety, launched an immediate investigation to determine the exact circumstances of the accident. Security cameras at the zoo revealed crucial details. Moments before her fall, Alexandra had crossed the yellow warning line. Although the physical barriers complied with existing regulations at the time, experts concluded that a combination of factors, including excessive proximity of visitors, lack of constant supervision in that specific area, and the unexpected presence of a foreign object inside the enclosure, created an unacceptable risk situation. In response to these findings, the San Francisco Zoo implemented drastic changes to its infrastructure. Fences were raised, the containment moat was widened, and motion sensors were installed to alert staff whenever visitors approached restricted areas dangerously close. Additionally, educational campaigns were intensified, reinforcing to visitors the importance of respecting barriers and never attempting to retrieve objects that fell into animal enclosures. Alexandra's family, amidst the pain of an irreparable loss, transformed the tragedy into a legacy. They established a foundation in her memory dedicated to educating the public about safety in environments with wild animals and funding research on feline behavior, aiming to prevent other families from enduring the same devastating experience. Alexandra Black's death serves as a painful reminder that, no matter how much we admire the beauty and majesty of wild animals, we must never forget their instinctive and potentially lethal nature. Lions are not characters from biblical tales nor creatures domesticated by human affection. They are powerful predators governed by millions of years of evolution, whose hunting and territorial instincts remain intact even in captivity. The line separating admiration from recklessness is thin and often invisible until it is too late. A simple toy, a moment of distraction, a step beyond the barrier. Seemingly insignificant gestures can trigger irreversible consequences. Alexandra was not cast into the lion's den by royal decree, as Daniel was in the sacred narrative. She became a victim of a combination of circumstances, a moment of carelessness amplified by dangerously close proximity to the wildness contained behind fences and walls. Her story is not merely a warning about zoo safety, it is an invitation to humility before nature. A recognition that despite our intelligence and technology, we remain vulnerable when we underestimate the wild world that dwells beside us. May her memory inspire respect, caution, and a more conscious coexistence between humankind and the animals that share our planet.